Paticcasamuppada, Dependent Origination, talk number 7. Today we are going to take a pause talking about the links of dependent origination. Then I'll call it a supplement number 1. Some aspects what the Buddha taught that will help us to understand a little better on this dependent origination. The title in Pali is called Vithi, cognitive process or thought process. It will help us to understand what is passive consciousness, and also it will help us to understand the role phassa, mental contact, plays in conjunction with this cognitive process. Vithi, cognitive process, explain how different kinds of consciousness operating or doing their jobs or tasks in a thought process, in a set formula. Cognitive process explain how different kinds of consciousness operating or doing their task in a thought process, in a set formula. And if you draw a chart or a table for this talk or along with this talk, step by step, with notes on each of the subtitle, you can have a better and clear understanding of this process. Let us start from past life so that we can pick up the absolute beginning of this life and how thought patterns operate throughout this whole life. If you remember, the link we use for the past life independent origination is Sankhara Pichaya Vinyanam. Due to karma formation, relinking consciousness arises. Sankhara are all the actions once made in the past life, and Vinyanan is the relinking consciousness that arises in this life due to the conditioning factor of Sankhara. Last life conditionings, last life actions conditioned what kind of life you will have in this life. So we have a review on this Vijnana on the second link. What is Vijnana? It's a rebirth consciousness, relinking consciousness. In Pali, Patichande Citta. And this is the first consciousness that arises in this current life. it is different but identical in essence or nature from the next consciousness that arises following this one. The next or the second consciousness starting from that, it's called in Pali Pavanga, life continuum or constituents of life in English. So I'll keep using the word Pavanga, that is life continuum or life constituent. This Pavanga keeps on arising and passing away, one after the other throughout one's life, till the karmic energy for this life has been totally exhausted. That means at that point you're dead. Also this Pavanga, you can call it a inactive consciousness or resultant consciousness or passive consciousness. Inactive is the most accurate presentation. And what it means is these consciousness cannot produce any new karma. However, this flow of Pavanga consciousness is constantly interrupted by active consciousness under a certain set of conditions. So this Pavanga is always, so to speak, flowing one after the other, arising and passing away. But they are constantly interrupted by another consciousness called active consciousness. But you have to have a certain condition for that active consciousness to arise. So what is this condition? This condition is the external objects, okay, such as form, sound, smell, taste, touch. External objects, let's say sound, coming in contact with the corresponding internal sensitivity. What are the internal sensitivity? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. So coming in contact with the corresponding internal sensitivities. Basically, if it is a sound, then it's come in contact with the ear. And then attention to it. When we say attention, what can give attention? It's a consciousness. So you can call it attention, you can call it consciousness of a person. Eye and form and a consciousness of a person. Requirements are these three. These three are the condition. Generally, this condition that give rise to coming together. Coming together of what? Specifically, sound, ear, and consciousness. That is called phassa, mental contact. And you need all these things for the active consciousness to arise. What is that? In other words, phassa, mental contact. Mental contact is necessary for active consciousness to arise. So, how does this phassa plays in a thought process? So we are talking about thought process, cognitive process, Vithi. So before we dive into this Vithi, let's get to familiarize ourselves with some of the fixed law, niyama of mind and matter. A few fixed law of mind and matter we need to understand. One is the lifespan of a rupa, materiality, is 17 times longer than that of nama, mentality. In other words, rupa live 17 times more than the nama. In other words, if nama, for example, lasts for 1 second, rupa lasts 17 seconds. So that is one law we need to know. And another law of nama and rupa is two consciousness cannot coexist. Two consciousness cannot coexist at the same time. Why? Because the disappearance of the preceding consciousness is the cause, and the appearance of the succeeding consciousness is the effect. For one new consciousness to arise, the old consciousness must fade away or die. And only then the next one comes up. That's one of the causes. Of course, we know from previous lectures there are many causes and there are many effects. We are just singling out a few. Also, during the lifespans of the rupa, materiality, matter, during the lifespans of a rupa or matter, at that moment of striking a sense object to sensitivity, okay. To put it in other words, the sound strikes the eardrum. Sound is a sense object, eardrum is the sensitivity. Okay. Once it's strike, it has a certain lifespan. We already know 17 times longer than the nama or mind. During that time, during the lifespans of the matter, during that time, what happened is 17 mind units, or you can call it 17 consciousness. One after the other do their job, do their task, and disappear. That's on the mind side. Okay, we are beings of Dhamma and Rupa, mind and matter. So the mind is doing its job, and also the body is doing its job. The body job is sound strike the eardrum. During that lifespan, there are 17 consciousness arises and pass away doing their own job on the mind side. So body side is doing its job, mind side is doing its job. And that function of the consciousness, 17 consciousness, is called cognitive process or a thought process. So let's see how this 17 thought process are operating in this system. The first one is, always keep in mind, it started with the sound striking the eardrum. Okay. At that moment, in one's body and mind, okay, that bhavanga, life constituent, is always running. At the moment of striking, what happened on that mind side bhavanga is one bhavanga passed away. You can call it past bhavanga. And then second bhavanga arises and passes away too. We can name it vibrating bhavanga. The first one is past bhavanga. Second one is vibrating bhavanga. And the third one simply ceased. It stopped. Terminated. No more bhavanga arising. But three, when the sound strike the eardrum, at that precise moment, one bhavanga passed away, second one vibrate or arise and pass away, and the third one totally ceased, terminated. Bhavanga is terminated. So the third one, we call it arrest bhavanga. The first one, past bhavanga, second one, vibrating bhavanga, third one, arrest bhavanga. So those three already happened, but this bhavanga is always going. That's the product of last life. And after it ceased, that's the third one. On the fourth, there is we'll call it a sense door consciousness. Sense door consciousness or adverting consciousness arises. What this is in this body we have five physical sense door. Eye door, ear door, nose door, tongue door, and the body door. 5 doors. So these are called 5 material sense door. Or another what is called adverting consciousness. Why do we call this 5 material sense door adverting consciousness? The reason is when there is a sound, suddenly attention turns to it. Just simply attention, nothing more, nothing less. Just like you are sitting alone in a big house, a little scared, quiet, and then there's a little sound from somewhere in the house, click, and the mind goes right to there directly. Attention. Don't know from where it is or what it is, just the sound. Paying attention, directing attention. That's why it's called adverting consciousness. So one consciousness does this job. Of course, as we have 5 doors, those kind of consciousness are 5 of them. Eye adverting, ear adverting, nose adverting, and so on. So that is the fourth consciousness that arises and does its function. Its function is to turn towards or to pay attention towards the sound. That's number 4. And then the fifth consciousness. The fifth consciousness is called 5 sense consciousness. Pincha viññāna. Pincha is 5. Viññāna is consciousness. 5 sense consciousness arises. First of all, you turn towards the door. And then if you turn towards the eye door, the consciousness that arises is called eye consciousness or seeing consciousness. If the attention goes towards the ear, that is called the arising consciousness, ear consciousness or hearing consciousness. So seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, smelling consciousness, tasting consciousness, and touch consciousness arises. Based on the nature of the door, a certain type of consciousness arises. That's why it's called sense consciousness. Number 4 is sense door consciousness. Turning, paying direction, attention towards the door. This one is now acutely arising. Seeing happen, seeing consciousness. But when we say seeing consciousness, it's simply a mere seeing, nothing very specific, just mere awareness of an object. When we say seeing consciousness, it's simply a mere awareness of an object, nothing very specific yet, just know it's the form. Or you can call it a sense impression, that a certain sense make an impression in your psyche. So that is the 5th consciousness job or function. And once this seeing or hearing consciousness arises, they make a little awareness of the object. And the next that one disappear and the next consciousness popped up, and then that next consciousness does its own job. And what it is called receiving consciousness. I just simply say simple English words. I will not be repeating the Pali words because it might become too many and too confusing when it becomes too many. So receiving consciousness job is it receives the data of the object. Data. Okay. There's an object, there's a collection of data, those ones are sent it to the next one. Once the first one make an impression, now they send it and the next one collect data. Receive data of the object. That's called receiving consciousness. That's the sixth one. After it receives, it's finished its job, so it closes shop. And the next shop open, or the next consciousness arises. This shop or this consciousness is called investigating consciousness. Receiving department closed and investigating department open. Investigating consciousness. And in this investigating consciousness, what it does it examines all the data that have just received. It examines, it investigates all the data, trying to make sense what it is. Oh, this is a man, this is a human, starting to take shapes and forms, investigating. And once this investigating department is done, it just write a report and send it to another department, and another department does its job. Another department is called determining consciousness department. That's the eighth consciousness. Determining consciousness arises. And in here, what happened was, in this determining consciousness department, or this particular consciousness have the full experience, full perception of the object. Now it perceives fully. Okay? Full perception of the object. And then it exercises the free will. Determining object is, consciousness is, decide what to do. That's why it's called determining consciousness. Decide what to do, and here is free will. Up to this point, there's no free will. It's automatic. One go and open the door, and then at the door something pops up. And then, let's say, delivery guy. Open the door, delivery guy deliver, and the next guy received. After it received, it passes on to people who investigate the package. And then once this package is investigated, this go to the CEO, this go to the secretary, this go to the president. And then they send it to the CEO or president. And CEO and president open the package and decide what to do. That's it, as simple as that. Delivery guy with a package. And they are each department and each consciousness perform their function. So up to the 7 is automatic. They are more like an assembly line. The 8 determining consciousness is free will get involved. Just simply determine, haven't done anything yet. But determination is the free will. To do or not to do, carry on or to destroy, or to pass it on to somebody else. So, this mental object, we are talking about 5 physical objects. form of the eye, sound of the ear, smell of the nose, taste of the tongue, touch of the body. 5 objects. They are all physical. But there is one more object. It's called mental object. Okay? Mental object. It doesn't have any materiality. It is a thought form. And thought forms are already previous experience pops up in your mind as a thought form. That's a mental object. So, when the mental object arises, it bypasses stage 4, 5, 6, and 7. Doesn't have to go through those things because it is not the delivery boy who is delivering. See you rethinking about a problem. That's a mental object. It bypasses stage 4, 5, 6, and 7 and comes directly to 8, determining consciousness. Mental objects come directly to determining consciousness, number 8. And number 8 is, that's why it's also called mind-based. You can call it determining consciousness, or it is the mind-based. What is mind-based? Mind-based is where a mind arises. Mind-based. For this particular case, it is called mind door consciousness. This determining consciousness, when it is dealing with the mental object, you can call it mind door consciousness. Mental package is delivered to the mind door, and then it's determined right then and there. So 1 to 8. 1 to 8. This 1 to 8 consciousness are called resultant consciousness. Resultant vipaka. Resultant consciousness because this is programmed. This is automatic. It comes out of the result or the effect of the past life activities and actions. They are resultant consciousness. And in there, out of that 8, the first 3, Bhavanga. Bhavanga is simply very fixed, identical consciousness arising and passing away one after the other. And that one is called inactive consciousness. Inactive. Or passive consciousness, or resultant consciousness. The first 3 is inactive. 4 to 8, you can call it inactive, you can call it passive, you can call it resultant. All 8's resultant. Okay. Of course, in Pali is called abhyagata, indeterminate. And the reason they are given these names, inactive, passive, resultant, because these consciousness cannot produce any new karma. They are just being there as a product, as a result, as the effect of the past life actions. These you need to know quite clearly, because you will see these things in a dependent origination and a certain way presented. But if you understand these, it becomes easier. 1 to 8, Goenga, and all the assembly line consciousness, they are inactive consciousness. They are passive consciousness. They are resultant consciousness. The main reason is they cannot produce any new karma. They are simply the fruit of the last life actions, physical, verbal, and mental. Okay, that is 1 to 8. Now we still have 9. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, number 9 to 15. 7 consciousness. These 7 consciousness are, if you look at number 8, number 8 is, it already have process or know or investigate the object and then decided what to do. Okay. Whether to just punch it out, or whether to hug and kiss, or whether to destroy it or save it. It's just decision. And of course, logically speaking, after that what? An action is performed. It might save it, it might destroy it, it might hug it, it might kiss it, it might punch it. So starting from 9, the real actions take place. Activities come in. Because you have decided to do something and now doing have started. The job has started. Number 9. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 7. These 7s in Pali is called Javana. English translated as impulsion. Impulsion, Javana. In other words, very swift. Very swift. Consciousness. 7 of them runs one after the other, based on the intensity, based on the volition, based on the desire, based on the hatred. All these things are in full play. You have, one have, determined what to do on the 8th, and then from the 9th to the 15th, these consciousness are just doing it based on the intensity of volition, cetana. So real actions take place. In other words, these consciousness are creating new karma. These consciousness are creating new karma now. That's why these are called active consciousness. Active. Actually doing something and accumulating new karma. 9 to 15. And after that, there are 2 more consciousness, 16 and 17. These are called registering consciousness. In other words, they are the bookkeeper, recorder. They recorded all these experience, 9 to 5. Full experience of the object. These experiences are recorded, 16 and 17 consciousness. So basically, these are also passive consciousness. They are not creating new karma. So after 17 thought moments, or after 17 consciousness have finished doing their job, at that moment, the physical object, what is the physical object? Rupa. The striking, okay? Striking object and receiving sense space. Sound striking the eardrum. Exactly at the end of 17 thought moments, that materiality also passed away. One materiality started from the Bhavanka number 1, and at the end of the consciousness number 17, that rupa or materiality also passed away. That is the mind and matter relationship, and how mind or minds do their job accordingly based on an object that comes in contact. That job, that task, that function is called cognitive process or a thought process. So, but bear in mind, this is a simple presentation of the functions of the different consciousness in a cognitive or thought process. This each mind unit or each consciousness arises, does their job, perform their function, and passes away. Karma-driven collective work, karma-driven collective work of all these 17 consciousness and corresponding materiality or rupa, and corresponding mentality nama. Okay? All the work performed by this nama and rupa in this thought process is called self. It's called soul. It's called a person. It's called a being. What we call self, soul, person, individual, a being is simply the functions of these nama and rupa, mind and matter, all these consciousness in this thought process. So may all of you be able to understand this cognitive process and may be able to apply it to understand dependent origination at a deeper and clearer level once you proceed to next lectures. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.